Lesson 13.2, Converting Customer Units of Capacity. So this time we're no longer looking at distances, but more of how much is in something. So we're looking at liquids now rather than distances. So let's look over here. And again, I want to focus on page 334. If you look at that in your textbook, you're going to see a very similar chart. Mine's just a little bit more in depth. But we have cups, and it's abbreviated with a C. And in one cup, we have 8 fluid ounces. And fluid ounces is abbreviated FLOZ. And then you can see 1 pint equals 2 cups. And because it has 2 cups, 1 cup had 8, so 2 cups would have 8 times 2, which is 16 fluid ounces. Then we have a quart, which is abbreviated QT. And the quart has 2 pints. And if there are 2 cups in 1 pint, 2 pints would have 4 cups and 32 fluid ounces. 1 gallon, which is GAL, equals 4 quarts, which equals 8 pints and 16 cups and 128 fluid ounces. And so these are going to get a little confusing. I really suggest taking the information you see right here and making flashcards so that you can remember these, or writing them down or something and looking at them over and over again. It's just going to make this whole chapter just so much easier. And then right here is the progression that we saw a similar one in lesson 13.1 with the distances. Now we have with the capacity. So the smallest amount or the smallest capacity is the fluid ounce. There are 8 fluid ounces in just 1 cup. So we have fluid ounces which are less than a cup, which is less than a pint, which is less than a quart, which is less than what we have the biggest in this is going to be gallons. And similar to the last chapter, we have 2 main sections to focus on: how to convert from larger units to smaller, and how to convert from smaller units to larger units. So let's look at the larger. This would be taking cups and converting to see how many fluid ounces they are, or how many, if we have this many quarts, how many cups it is. And in those cases, when we're going from a larger unit to a smaller unit, we're going to multiply. So if we have 3 pints, how many fluid ounces is that? Well, if we look back over here, 1 pint equaled 16 fluid ounces. So what we would do is we would take the number of pints we had and multiply it by the number of fluid ounces in 1 pint. And so 3 times 16 gives us 48. So right here, 3 pints equals 48 fluid ounces. Now when we're doing from smaller to larger, such as fluid ounces to quarts or cups to gallons, we're going to divide. So if we had 128 fluid ounces, how many quarts would that be? Well, we look and we see in 1 quart we had 32 fluid ounces. So we take the amount of fluid ounces we have, which was 128, and we divide it by how many fluid ounces are in 1 quart, which is 32. So 128 divided by 32 gives us 4. So 128 fluid ounces equals 4 quarts. Let's take a look at the guided practice. 32 cups equals how many gallons? Well, let's look at our progression. We have cups to gallons. So cups is smaller than gallons, so we're going from smaller to larger. So what operation are we going to do? Right, we're going to divide. So let's do that. We take 32, which is the number of cups we have, and we divide it by 16. The reason we're dividing it by 16 is because 1 gallon equals 16 cups. So 32 divided by 16 equals 2. So 32 cups equals 2 gallons. Let's look at number 2. 16 quarts equals how many cups? So we go back to our progression and we see we're going from quarts to cups. So we're going from larger to smaller. So what are we going to do? Larger to smaller says we multiply. So we take the number of quarts we have, which is 16, and we're going to multiply it by the number of cups in 1 quart. 1 quart equals 4 cups. So 16 times 4 gives us 64. So 16 quarts equals 64 cups. Number 3, 48 quarts equals how many pints? Well, again, we go back to our progression and we say we're going from quarts to pints. So we're going from larger to smaller. So that tells us we multiply. And we have 48 quarts, so we have 48. And there are 2 pints in 1 quart, so we're going to multiply that by 2. And we get an answer of 96. So 48 quarts equals 96 pints. Let's skip down to number 5 because it's a little bit different. Number 5 says if I have 3 quarts and 1 pint, how many pints do I have? Well, again, we look at the progression and we're going from quarts to pints. So to do that, we're going to multiply. So we're going to take the number of quarts, which is 3, times there are 2 pints in 1 quart. So 3 times 2 equals 6. But then we still have to add this one other pint to it. So we have 3 times 2 equals 6. 6 plus 1 equals 7. So 3 quarts and 1 pint will equal 7 pints. So a lot of the ideas that we're going to be talking about in 13.2 are very similar to the ideas of 13.1. The only difference is instead of having feet, miles, inches, yards, those type of things, now we have fluid ounces, cups, pints, quarts, and gallons, and a whole different set of conversions. If you have any questions, please first refer back to page 334, and then make sure you come and ask. I hope everything went well today, and I will see you tomorrow.